I'm Cruella.
You know,
I'm still talking about Cruella.
God, it's all so depressing.
It feels like it will never end, for you see, the pile of never-ending problems with this movie means that I'll probably be finding issues with it forever. I could be on my deathbed and I'll remember something awful about this movie I forgot to say in this video. I already made a video about how Cruella is an unlikable villain protagonist, and another one about the movie's bad script, but this is a movie with far more wrong with it than just the contents of the script. By the way, I'm not making these videos as some 101 Dalmatians superfan, but because Disney has purposefully made Cruella as a misguided twist on the original stories. Cruella is a movie that takes the villain character from the original stories, which had a great impact on the world and therefore brand recognition, and twists them, telling the origin story for Cruella in which she is actually a Mary Sue, an overpowered character who can do no wrong, who was cool and awesome all along.
God, it's all so depressing.
Cruella is directed by Craig Gillespie, and honestly, the direction in the movie isn't a problem. The shots look fine, the camera work is what you'd expect from a movie with talent, time, and money behind the camera, so I won't harp on the direction. However, something interesting is that this isn't the first movie Gillespie has directed that attempts to redeem the image of a woman viewed by people in the past as irredeemable. Craig Gillespie had directed I, Tonya, a movie about controversial figure skater Tonya Harding, and starred Margot Robbie, who plays a character who says she's Harley Quinn in the DCEU. I didn't love I, Tonya, but I found it much more impressive than Cruella. The similarities between this movie and I, Tonya are actually pretty interesting. Tonya Harding is a person who still attracts debate and discussion about just how good or evil she is, despite the attack on Nancy Kerrigan happening nearly 30 years ago. I, Tonya does make efforts to make her more sympathetic than she may have been in real life, notably by skirting around the fact that she seems fine sending death threats to Nancy Kerrigan, and also completely makes up a scene where a judge refuses to give her high scores since they don't want someone from her background winning competitions. The movie at least make efforts to point out that its narrators are unreliable and neither are fully trustworthy. Its multiple narrators present the story in different ways to suit their own agendas. When it comes to why Cruella exists, you can point to the success of Wicked. It was popular, and it gave a sympathetic story to a famous villain. Disney picked up on that with Maleficent and Frozen, and now they are doing it with Cruella. I also just found out that Wicked is getting a movie with Ariana Grande in it. Oh, Jeff Goldblum, I might actually watch it. Maleficent is the story of Sleeping Beauty from the perspective of the villain, Maleficent. It is her kiss that awakens Princess Aurora, not the prince, and the king is revealed to have been evil the whole time. Frozen is an adaptation of Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen, which changes everything. The character of the Snow Queen is changed to Elsa, and is revealed to have been good the whole time, while the traditional handsome prince is now evil. The movie rips off Wicked, with the song Let It Go having very similar vibes to Defying Gravity, at least to me. It's interesting how Disney seems embarrassed by its fairy tale past, using trendy titles like Tangled and Frozen, rather than the timeless original titles like Rapunzel or The Snow Queen. In short, Cruella is the latest film in a trend of not trying to be timeless entertainment, but to rehabilitate the image of female villains. In the older movies, Cruella is an over-the-top embodiment of selfishness, evil, and, well, cruelty. In the Cruella movie, she has a sympathetic backstory and is a misunderstood genius. And get used to the movie saying that. She is praised by many people, including herself, for being a genius, and amazing, and awesome, and a genius.
Being a genius is one thing. Raising a genius, however, does come with its challenges.
But Tin Man, you love the first 6 Star Wars movies, and the prequels feature Anakin Skywalker and show a sympathetic side to his fall from grace. Well, yes, they do. But there are many important differences. The audience was already aware of Anakin Skywalker's fall from grace and transformation into Darth Vader, and a key part of the original trilogy is his eventual redemption and sacrifice. Unlike Cruella, there was already a sympathetic side to the character. More importantly, the movies never try to make him completely sympathetic. He isn't really forgiven for his misdeeds, and he dies after killing the Emperor. The movies don't shy away from the fact that as Darth Vader, he committed countless murders and atrocities. Once he kills the younglings in the Jedi Temple, you know that there is no going back from here. Anakin's brief moment of goodness, sacrificing himself to kill Sidious in order to save his son who loved him, and could sense his own love for him, despite Vader's denials, isn't enough for the galaxy or the audience to say, you know what, that Vader guy was alright. The prequels also flesh out why he made the decisions he did. Even if you don't agree with him, you understand why he made the decisions that he ended up performing. Cruella, on the other hand, insists that, Cruella was actually a badass bitch all along. Cruella, like the other examples I named, undoes female villains in order to make them really right the whole time. Cruella didn't dye her hair as a vain fashion statement. She was born that way, so it wasn't a conscious decision. Cruella kills animals for their fur. Well, actually, Dalmatians killed her mother by pushing her off a cliff, so she's justified in not liking them. Her power and wealth, gained from her career, has corrupted her. Actually, she's the daughter of a baroness, and inherited her estate and wealth, so she is owning what is rightfully hers. I can't help but notice that the 2021 Cruella has a "the rightful king returns" thing going on. It's weirdly conservative for a movie that is otherwise the opposite of conservative. Cruella deserves a higher place in life where she is praised by others, since she is in fact better than others. And it turns out, hey, because of her bloodline, she is inherently special. It reminds me of the privileged Second Estate, but Cruella has no noblesse oblige. It is very similar to one of the many disjointed and contradictory themes of The Last Jedi. Authority figures, like Holdo and Leia, are to be obeyed, as they are better than you. It's interesting to compare the original animated film to Cruella. In the 2021 version, Cruella's mother is killed by Dalmatians, giving her a reason to not like them, perhaps serving an explanation for why she would later want to skin them. But if, watch the animated movie, it's clear that Cruella doesn't actually care about dogs one way or another. When she tries to buy the puppies from Roger and Anita, and they tell her that they aren't for sale, it takes her quite some time to even realize that she has been told no.
I'll take them all, the whole litter. Just name your price, dear.
We can't give them up.
Don't be ridiculous. When can the puppies leave their mother?
Never.
What? Oh, surely he must be joking.
No, I mean it. You're not getting one. Not one.
You... Keep the little beasts for all I care. Do what you like with them. Drown them.
This isn't the behavior of someone who hates dogs. It's the behavior of someone entitled, wealthy, and privileged.
I don't care how you kill the little beast, but do it!
Who is used to getting her way, and who resorts to crime when she can't get what she wants legally. In order to make Cruella good the whole time, the movie has to bend over backwards to not just change Cruella herself, but the world around her. The other characters have to be made worse in order to make her look better by comparison. It's not clever, it's cheap sympathy that doesn't work if you think about it for more than 1 second. This trend of undoing villains in order to make them right the whole time is bizarre and off-putting to me, especially when we know that they are capable of great evil, and shouldn't be admired. Another example is in the song Later Boy by Ash Nico, a woman who made an entire album's worth of songs about being totally over her ex. The song is an interpolation of Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne, and completely turns it on its head and warps its intended meaning and moral message. So yes, I'm about to undergo a serious analysis of the song Skater Boy. Skater Boy tells the story of a girl who breaks up with her boyfriend, a skater punk kid, because she thinks that he isn't good enough for her. However, to her dismay, the skater boy ends up becoming a famous and popular musician. She tries to get him back, but he has moved on. The song is a moral lesson about not rejecting people you think are beneath you, and how the girl missed out on what she thought she wanted through her selfishness. The Later Boy cover is a complete monstrosity. Later Boy is instead about how the guy was actually a loser the whole time, and that the girl was right to dump him. The lyrics talk about how she's not supposed to be his therapist, and later describes how in a nicer home, a different man is making her moan, meaning that the song is making fun of men for being open about their problems, and then for missing out on sex. What was a song with a positive moral message has been twisted into a song mocking the man and saying that the girl was right to dump the skater boy all along. Just like Cruella, Later Boy is an attempt to rehabilitate a villain, and tears down the male characters and props up female ones to do it. Another musical example involving Ashniko, as well as Doja Cat, is Boss Bitch, which appeared in the film Birds of Prey and has a pretty cringe music video inspired by the film. It's kind of weird that music videos of female artists get to have sexy women in them, while entertainment for guys has the women cover up or made frumpy. Look no further than the recent Mortal Kombat or Mass Effect Andromeda, which kept the male characters beautiful while making the female characters based on real-life models look worse, to see how drastic the changes are. Don't worry, men in video games still get to be shirtless and sexy. Ogling isn't a problem if the person being ogled is a man, apparently. But Boss Bitch, is also a song that raises a lot of concerning points in its lyrics. Why is it desirable to be a bitch? Why is it desirable to be bad? Bad guys do what is right for them. They don't make sacrifices for others. In fact, they are gifted opportunities to inflict violence and suffering onto people who get in their way. The movie spends a lot of money on sets and elaborate camera shots. Like Suicide Squad, the movie has a comically long list of popular songs. Seriously, this movie has Queen, Led Zeppelin, The Beatles, The Clash, Rolling Stones, The Stooges, Deep Purple, and more. Wait, Should I Stay or Should I Go came out in 1981, yet this movie is set in 1974. What the fuck?
I don't know, I've gone cross-eyed.
Anyway, a big soundtrack of recognizable songs isn't a sign of quality, even if some of the songs are really good, but at budget. Warner Brothers and Disney could afford to get the rights for all these songs, so it's not a sign of talent or filmmaking craft at all. While budget being spent on things that can improve the movie is never a bad thing, it is meaningless if the rest of the movie is awful. Cruella, despite its high budget, treats the actual script as almost an afterthought, and beats the audience over the head with really obvious themes. The movie also relies heavily on its music to basically tell the audience how to feel. Cruella, the person people know as a villain, is victorious in the end? Play Sympathy for the Devil, a popular Rolling Stones song about Satan. That will make people support her. The music in this movie is ultimately hollow, as it isn't coming from real creativity. But instead, it is a big-budget movie-making machine called Disney. The movie is similar to Solo: A Star Wars Story, in that it feels the need to explain the origins of every little thing about Cruella in a single story.
What's your name, son?
Hunt.
What? Who are your people?
I don't have people.
Solo.
We get her name,
My name's Estella, not Cruella.
Do you know what this car's called? A devil! It's DeVille, mate. DeVille.
I like that.
Damn, Oscar, why you such a grouch, man?
hair color, she hears her famous laugh in a movie, her car, her house, and her possible hatred of Dalmatians. So if Disney wants to do an additional sequel, there's less of the character to be explored if they want to keep pretending that this is a prequel to 101 Dalmatians. Also, despite being a prequel, it copies elements from the original, most glaringly the dogs looking like their owners bit.
You notice how some dog owners look a lot like their dogs.
The movie has a high budget, and while it had issues with its use of licensed period music, the movie does a good job of replicating the look of 1970s London. Something that doesn't replicate the 1970s London is Emma Stone's performance as Cruella. Despite its production design, Cruella doesn't really speak like an English woman from 1974, and speaks like someone from present-day California with a pretend English accent.
A family that's good at
Get dressed!
stealing stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Really? No, she did not. Sorry. Slight tone delivery problem. No, she did not.
This may not seem like a big deal, but when a character says words that feel out of place, it can take you out of the movie. Look at the Star Wars sequel trilogy throwing around phrases such as cute boyfriend, the big-ass door, and cops in place of the more timeless and unearthly dialogue of the earlier movies. Of course, it doesn't hurt to have a good actor in addition to good writing and direction. Emma Stone is really annoying as Cruella. I don't really have an opinion of her as an actress. She played a virgin sacrifice to a volcano in The House Bunny, and she got headbutted by Jonah Hill in Superbad.
Maybe.
But she's awful in this movie.
Born brilliant, born bad, and a little bit mad.
Well, I don't have it, which is why I need to talk about it, which is why I'm here. Am I going to have to catch you up a lot, or can you keep up?
Yeah, and she's a homicidal maniac, and you're not.
We don't know that yet. I'm still young.
You're funny.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
If she was told to play Cruella as smug, entitled, and annoying, then she succeeded brilliantly. Despite the high budget, and for the most part decent special effects, there is some very awkward CGI for when Cruella fakes her death by jumping off a cliff. Yikes. That's just one scene though. Something that pops up again and again is the CGI dogs. While Cruella uses a mixture of real and digital dogs, the CGI dogs are really glaring, and it is clear that they aren't real. The 1996 live-action version also had some CGI dogs, including this weird attempt at a doggy facial expression. I don't know what that is. But mostly used real ones, and it looks a million times better. Compare this shot of the dogs hanging out to this one of the CGI Dalmatian going poopy. By the way, this movie pretends to be a part of the 101 Dalmatians canon by having the Baroness's Dalmatians involved in the plot, being her attack dogs, used to kill Cruella's adopted mother, and also swallowing the necklace Cruella is after and needing to poop it out. The dark, serious twist on the Cruella character really needed this subplot, apparently. That's almost as bad as revealing that both of them came into Roger and Anita's possession because Cruella gave them over to them as puppies. Wait, are they trying to make Pongo and Perdita brother and sister? What the fuck? It is very telling that Disney has not applied the Wicked, Maleficent, Frozen, or Cruella treatment to any of their male villains. Where's the prequel movie revealing that Claude Frollo was actually really nice, until a hunchback cucked him and killed his dog? That would never happen since Disney and modern Hollywood doesn't feel ideologically motivated to soften the image of male villains. Instead, we're far more likely to get a prequel to Aliens, since Disney owns Aliens now, and Predator, and Star Wars. Fuck's sake. Anyway, we're far more likely to get a prequel to Aliens, with a trendy single-word title like Queen, where we learn the tragic backstory of the alien queen, where Ripley's mother would say, "Get away from her, you bitch!" to the queen when she tried to be close with the human girl she'd bonded to. Because it's not a modern remake, prequel, or sequel without a moment that twists and ruins a beloved moment from the original, is it? Ripley's mother would be revealed to have bred aliens and tortured them, eventually making the queen hostile to humans when she could have been their friend, complete with an Ash Nico soundtrack. Speaking of male villains, let's talk about race and sex. I'm sure this won't be a controversial topic. Some of you might be saying, but Tin Man, surely you're just reading into things too much. Well, I don't think I am. The movie very early on has Cruella quote feminist messaging.
How does the saying go? I am woman, hear me roar. Well, that wasn't much of a thing back in 1964, but it was about to be.
Cruella, through her narration, is clearly looking back on the past as a time when she was oppressed or talked down to for being a woman. And clearly the early 1970s was a rough time where women couldn't succeed in life or become powerful or successful. Wait, for Christ's sake, they literally take the man out of Hellman Hall. Fuck her dad, I guess. By the way, there is no actual reason for her to make this change in the movie, she just does it because that's the name of her manor in the book. I joked about Frollo being made sympathetic, but the reality of modern movies, especially modern Disney, this is that characters are written and portrayed differently based on their race, sex, sexual preferences, politics, and religion. Part of the reason why so many recent Mary Sues are female is because giving female characters flaws, weaknesses, or down moments leads to accusations of sexism, such as when Black Widow feels inadequate and like a monster for being infertile in Avengers Age of Ultron, or posters for X-Men Apocalypse being called sexist for daring to depict a supervillain being violent to a female superhero. Cruella, like nearly every adaptation or remake of the last few years, it seems, race swaps some of its characters. The most prominent examples of this are Jasper, Roger, and Anita.
Tellingly, Horace, who stays white, is a fat idiot and the butt of jokes, while Jasper, who now has darker skin, is cool and slick, and plays guitar. The movie doesn't want to be harsh on female characters for fear of being called sexist, but will happily be harsh on male characters. Male characters are repeatedly shown to be incompetent, or the victims of slapstick violence. The only real exceptions are Jasper and John, the Baroness's aide. Horace is really dumb.
Right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's go and ruin someone's day.
You mean the Baroness?
Obviously, I mean the Baroness.
Fine.
Why, who did you think I...
He says someone.
Let's just do this, alright? She's not actually dead, mate. She's...
You're not getting choked up at all this.
Basically, all of his scenes end with him saying something stupid. There's comic relief, and then there's being so dumb that you don't behave like a real person. I don't have an issue with this in a cartoon or a silly family movie, but if the movie wants me to take it seriously, then a character like Horace stands out like a sore thumb that got pushed over a cliff by Dalmatians. At no point does he display real emotion or depth other than liking soccer, football, and his dog. It's hard to believe that someone this stupid could succeed at being a thief.
I mentioned before that Jasper is portrayed very differently to Horace, but there is another male character whose race is changed that gets completely different treatment. Roger, who is now played by an actor with Iranian heritage, is made a loser that other characters dunk on repeatedly.
Necklace. Roger's shoes.
Don't touch the ankle.
Yes, sorry, it's in.
I don't know we have a legal avenue for...
I need you to stop talking, Roger. You're fired.
Roger always blamed me for getting him fired, but the real reason Roger was fired is because he's Roger.
Who's Roger? Oh, no one important. Just the main human character in the original stories. Just like Luke Skywalker and countless others, the hero from an original story not only has to be relegated to no one important, but they have to be made a loser.
Anita, who is made black, is never made fun of like Roger, and has no flaws or any other kind of negative character traits. When Cruella is at school, she's the only person nice to her, unlike all the white boys. By the way, Cruella is fierce. She beats up boys and throws balls at them. In fact, Anita is one of the only characters to not let the Baroness intimidate her. The same applies to Artie. He was gay, apparently, despite me not noticing the first time I watched the movie. In fact, Cruella is very complimentary to them while being awful to Jasper and Horace. Gee, I wonder why the movie was awful to the straight men, but not the gay man or the black woman. I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
The gay man's sole role is to provide clothes and costumes. Now that's not a stereotype or anything. Of course, ultimately, none of this really matters in the grand scheme of things in the movie. Cruella, the white woman, is a Mary Sue that all of her friends and allies, regardless of their skin color or sex, revolve around. They don't have drives or motivations of their own, just a selfless existence being an accessory to a Mary Sue. Cruella is worse than even Disney Star Wars, Ghostbusters 2016, Terminator Dark Fate, and Mulan 2020, at least when it comes to morality. Those movies, as bad as they are, genuinely tried to have their characters be heroic and trying to do good. Cruella has an awful, spiteful main character, and tells you to love her in what is a bizarre attempt at rehabilitating one of the most black and white villains in history. If this movie was fiction within the 101 Dalmatians universe, and was financed by Cruella as a biopic about herself, it would actually be genius. But that's not what this movie is. Cruella is the result of a big studio that is a creative shadow of the greatest and artistic merit it had in the past, propagandizing about how villainous behavior is in fact desirable and likable. This movie, with its overblown budget spent on trying to insist to people that the villain they've known for decades is actually sympathetic, is symptomatic of all of the issues mentioned in my previous videos. The overall trend of girl power remakes and sequels, and the abandonment of the hero's journey in a bizarre, fucked up attempt to force Mary Sue's down the audience's throats. Cruella, a selfish narcissist who embraces being cruel to the point of making it her name, is depicted as something to aspire to. Other poorly written leads like Rey Skywalker and Harley Quinn are similarly being elevated onto pedestals that they don't deserve to be on by gigantic corporations that own the rights to beloved parts of world culture. Stories matter. In an absence of religion and myth, it is stories that give people guidance in life. What kind of guidance or inspiration does a movie like Cruella teach? It is a story about a woman rising to a privileged position in society that she deserves due to innate traits she is born with, instead of having to earn, where her friends and allies are doormats whose lives revolve around her, and her flawed personality traits are portrayed as positive attributes, instead of being things to overcome. That is why Cruella is as awful as it is, why it is everything wrong with modern Hollywood, and why it is a symptom of a cultural rot.